Well, Steve, we're off to the Forbidden West. All right, Steve, you and I think, are pretty pumped to be talking about this. Finally, it is here. It is coming very, very soon. We've been on it for, well, at this point, after I rolled credits, over 50 hours. Horizon Forbidden West. Ladies and gentlemen, it was probably one of my most anticipated games of this year, and it stands the testament, Steve. It is fantastic. I've really enjoyed my time with it. I'm going back. This is a game everybody needs to platinum. That's my goal now, Steve. That's how good this is for me to go back and want to be able to platinum the game. What are your early thoughts?
Wow. To be honest with you, if you love story-driven games, like we mentioned before, this is very based on that. But this game has everything you could ever want in a game, whether it's adventure, betrayal. There's so much going on, and this, to be honest with you, this is a HBO miniseries right here. If you're following like The Last of Us, because this is absolutely phenomenal. And the best way the experience I got from this, from Horizon Forbidden West, was when I played Naughty Dog's The Last of Us. I was grinding out a lot of Zero Dawn, and I love the way they immerse you in the character, and like Aloy and Ellie of the first one, finding out the identity of who they are and working that relationship with them. But with both the second one, you know who you are and you're on a mission, and she is so focused on this, and I absolutely love Forbidden West. Amazing.
Aloy's really matured into this next one, and it's only like 6 months after the end of the first one. So if you haven't played the first one, you have to go play the first one. There's so much that ties into that relationship of the first game with the old world and everything coming up into the new, and where the state of the world is at within Earth and Aloy's adventure ahead of her. So there's a lot of back and forth between some of the characters with what we've seen from the past game. And it's funny because my youngest started playing the Zero Dawn, and I was watching and going, man, I remember that part and I remember that part. It's been 5 years, Steve, since we played that game. So for me to see some of that and then relate it over into what I just finished, it's just wow. Every character has a purpose, right? They're not just tossed in as a side character and go, here you go, and we'll see what happens to them kind of thing, right? They're there with a purpose to kind of expand on Aloy's story, and they're all heartfelt. There's always some kind of motivation behind them, and then the world itself is incredible. I love the point of, I go for a mission, and this is what happens with a lot of these open world games, because this is not a small game at all. 50 hours, Steve, I only feel like I'm just beginning. Right at this point, I finished the campaign, but there's still so many other things to do, treasures to go find, other side quests, and that's one of the coolest parts, is going out and exploring this beautiful world. And you come across these nodes and you find out backstory of people at a hotel and why they were there and what's going on, which then leads into a puzzle, then leads into this, and then next thing you know, a side quest turns into like an hour long, because I found myself just kind of veering all over the place. And the environment is so it is old world, right? Like there's a bus buried within the sand, all rusted up. Then you get into this jungle area, it's a hotel just in shambles, and there's a sign up top and it's been like twisted and all weathered down. And dude, this is my game of the year. Absolutely fantastic. There's nothing wrong with this game that I had a problem with. There's a couple little graphical issues here or there, but it didn't hinder my experience whatsoever. And when you get into other aspects, Steve, I gotta shut up for a second and let you talk before I keep going.
Well, I'm gonna touch. We were talking about the graphics. I mean, the visuals of this, the detail of every like fine hair moving in the wind, or you're on your charger on your machine and it goes sort of like that slow motion as you get more momentum. There's so much more in this. I mean, they've taken from the first one, and where you don't think they can make it any better, they just maxed everything 100% maxed out. whether it's the crafting, the graphics, the audio,
The tribes.
the whole thing is a whole package. Yeah.
Dude, you get into some of the tribal areas and stuff like that. Each one is so unique and so craftily different than the last, right? Each one has their own kind of their own feel and their own purpose of what they have within the Forbidden West and why they're there and what's going on with them. And there's so much to talk about just with the tribes alone. It was awesome. And then your gear comes into effect too. You can have your gear look like some of them. You can color your gear to different color schemes and things like that. There's so much more within this game. This reminds me honestly of going from Assassin's Creed 1 to Assassin's Creed 2. It's been stepped up that much more, right? When you jumped off for the first time with Assassin's Creed 2 into 2 Hidden Blades, that was an incredible feeling. And this is how Aloy's adventure has now stepped up. This is Guerrilla Games probably this is easily Guerrilla Games' best game ever. This is fantastic. I can't give it enough praise. The only thing I would have liked to have seen, because you are looking to craft so much, is when you are out in the world, I would like to be able to open up to find out what I need to craft for my gear. Instead of having to go back to a workbench, you have to go to a workbench to craft your stuff, which is fine. Yeah. But then that's how you also realize what pieces of machines you need in order to get that next level of your gear. And that's one of the problems I had, was I wouldn't know until I got there. But by the time I head out to the world, I kind of forgot what I was after because I get pulled away on something else, on some other side quest, the mission, the story, this, that, the other, just finding other things in the world, right? That was my biggest thing. But you can create the job at the workbench, Steve, but I don't want to have to be able to do that. I want to just be able to go and dude, if you open up the menu, it's just like checklist of all these other things to do, and I just want to spend more time in the world. Every time I put the game down, I'm like, ooh, if I go do this now, and I don't stop thinking about the game, right? And it's one of those things. It's a memorable experience. This is what Aloy's next adventure should be. It feels the way it should feel. Everything is just fantastic, dude. I love this game.
And just touching on what you said about the crafting, one thing I did love about this, there's no shortage of materials for your crafting.
Yeah.
Whether it's branches for your arrows, there's always machines around. There's other things you find, other machines that have been destroyed that are laying on the floor that you can go and loot and get the parts for your crafting, which was good because I've played games before that you've spent ages trying to find materials just to do any crafting. But you just look down at the ground and, whether it's even hunting animals, for the skins and the bones. Again, you need it for upgrading your pouches and things like that. They thought of everything in this game.
They certainly have, Steve. Steve, one of the things we didn't talk about is one of the biggest things about the game is its machines. They are so crafted, so well diverse. With this list of machines, there's so many. They've added a ton more and different variations. And then that's one of the coolest parts too. Depending on the variation, they have different parts you use for crafting. Like, they thought of so much with this game. Dude, I could keep gushing for the next hour. Until then, let's just wrap this up, Steve. I think for me, my game of the year, Horizon Forbidden West, Guerrilla's best game ever. This is fantastic, and I have to do it, man. I'm there with the 10. What about you?
Well, I'm exactly with you. I absolutely love this game. I had trouble putting it down, even when I was so tired. Like you said, Guerrilla's best game. It kept me immersed. And to be honest with you, this game is up for a lot of awards. And my game of the year, definitely. I'm giving this my very first ever 10 out of 10.
Nice.
Top marks and well deserved to Guerrilla Games for a true masterpiece. The story of Aloy's journey is one you'll never forget. Visually amazing, compelling gameplay and interaction, with a phenomenal story with voice acting to suit. Game of the year.